John Chapman. We're going to be back discussing all the recent 49ers news right after this.
Let's go get him. Let's go get him today, man. Let's go. Hey, double down, 3, 1, 2, 3, double down.
What's going on, everybody? I'm back here with a very special guest of mine. We've got John Chapman here, and as you can already see in the chat, we've got the hashtag CC already out. Thank you guys all for tuning in. 49ers training camp just finished, but first of all, John, how are you doing, man?
Man, I couldn't be better. Like, we wait and we wait. We put out content. You're one of the few content creators that's been grinding all off season, which is a chore. Let's just be really, really honest. But once the players get going, once you get news, once you get the press conferences, it just flows, man. It just feels natural. It feels right. And the fact that we have 49ers football for 5 to 6 months, I'm a happy man. I'm just a happy guy. The music sounds better, food tastes better. This is where we should be, man.
100%, 100%. I totally agree with you. And I was super excited. I went out to training camp the first 2 days. I was not there today. It was a closed practice today. Only a select few were there. But I mean, just you could just sense football is in the air from the warm-ups, from seeing our guy Talano Hufanga going out 45 minutes before practice started to warm up. First guy out on the field, just seeing the first sight of football. It was amazing. And yeah, I'm definitely excited to break it all down with you.
I'm a pretty big Hufanga guy. I really liked him. I know that he's got some issues in his game. Like, he's not a well-rounded, perfect starter yet. He was what, 5th round draft pick, all those different things. But man, there are so many guys this year that were rookies last year. That's who I want to see. The 49ers redshirt everybody, but you've got Trey Lance, you've got Aaron Banks. Elijah Mitchell was the only rookie that really got playing time last year. Now you're adding in Hufanga. I mean, there's so many guys that I'm so excited about. It's almost like we just get our rookie class delayed, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because the 49ers are a talented team. It's not like 2017 where Trent Taylor is going to lead your team in receptions almost just straight off the bench being drafted. So it just feels right. And I think guys like Hufanga, Trey Lance, kind of headlining the energy and the work ethic, having those young guys lead that, it's positive, man. It permeates the entire team.
100%, 100%. And you talked about it. We're going to speak a little more on Hufanga, what I saw, what we heard about today in a little bit. But you talked about Trey Lance right there. Just started off. 49ers quarterbacks have had somewhat of a rough day. Trey Lance had a rough day today, had a bit of a rough day yesterday. What do you just take of the initial kind of quarterback performances?
Man, way back to my coaching days, playing days, doesn't matter. When training camp starts at any level, it doesn't matter. High school, college, NFL. Defense has the advantage in every way, shape, and form. It is so difficult to block as an offensive lineman without pads on. It's almost impossible because you don't get to use the shoulders, which is such a big deal for what's going on. You don't get to lock on to the breastplate, which is the aiming point for them to shoot their hands. And so it permeates, it goes through everything. So calm down. I understand we all like the completion percentage and whatever else. And, I'm telling you right now, that is not a good indication of growth. That is not a good indication of success. Yeah, you want somebody to go 11 for 11 every time and ball never hit the floor, but that's not the goal. You're not winning games in July. It's not what this is. So wait till the pads come on, which is Monday. And man, let me just jump out here and say this, a little tease here. We're going to be giving away on this show today 2 tickets to training camp on Monday. It's sold out. Well, we got our hands on 2 tickets. We're going to be giving those out here in a little bit. So stick with us, and we'll be giving that to somebody that's watching live.
You heard it here. Like John said, 2 tickets to Monday's training camp. Be sure to be here and stay for the remainder of this session because we will be giving it out at the end. Training camp was a blast. I went for the first 2 days. I'm going to be out there Saturday. You guys do not want to miss out on it. So shout out to John for giving those 2 tickets away.
And I got to say, these are anonymous Patreon supporter that just wanted to share and give back to the community. I didn't buy these. It's just the community helping the community. That's what it's all about. And I freaking love it. And so for those of you that are like, yeah, this is a little bit of a different look. Rohan asked me to be on. So I'm here with the man, the legend who's been at camp. I've been scrolling through your Twitter, man. You've been freaking killing it this week, my friend.
Hey, thank you, man. Thank you, man. And talking about the quarterbacks, you brought up an amazing point that I think really needs to be stressed. You talk about completion percentage. Completion percentage is a bust, at least the first 2 days. And like when you see it with your eyes, you understand a lot more. Trey Lance threw 6 of 14 passes yesterday, completed only 6 of his 14, one interception. Now, you might look at that and say, wow, Trey Lance freaking sucks. But when you look at it really importantly, there were 3 throws specifically yesterday. Trey Lance deep down the field on the money. First one was a bomb, 35 yards to the left sideline to Brandon Ayuk with Emmanuel Mosley in coverage. Ayuk had made a good play on the ball, but Mosley pinned him to the sideline. And then as Ayuk was trying to come down, keeping 2 feet in, Mosley hit the ball out. It was on the money. It was a 35-yard pass from Lance. Just hit it out. Then, second play, 40-yard bomb, right sideline to Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings tries to go up, tries to corral it, but Charvarius Ward knocks it out before Juwan Jennings could get 2 hands on the ball. The third play, it was a kind of a crosser for Ray-Ran McCloud going from the left slot to the right sideline. 17-yard play. Lance darts it in. Hufanga just makes a great break on the play. He blocks it out, PBU for him. So 3 PBUs from 3 different guys, and really, like, those were 3 good throws from Lance. And I'm not saying he didn't have bad throws. His interception yesterday was inexcusable. It was a Jimmy G ball. It was straight to Jimmy Ward. Just didn't see Jimmy Ward right in the middle of the field trying to hit. I believe it was trying to hit Brandon Ayuk, and the ball was behind him. And so it was straight to Jimmy Ward. And then he also missed Juwan Jennings on a 5-yard slant. He threw it about 5 yards behind Juwan Jennings. But there's good with the bad. And the moral of the story, like John said, don't really worry about the completion percentage. Lance has been throwing some good balls. They just haven't been shown on the stat sheet.
Yeah, it's you got to look at the entire context of the situation and just understand it. When you're in training camp right now, it's just implementation period, which means you're starting at the basics. This is the Kyle Shanahan offense. They're starting at square one. Guess who this defense has gone against every single year in practice? It's the exact same reads. It's the exact same routes. It's the exact same blocking schemes. They've seen it. You're not trying to beat your defense. But unfortunately, with just the way numbers work with only a 90-man roster, if you want good versus good, you've got to do your defense versus your offensive scheme. Again, everything is tailored to help the defense earlier. It's just the way that it works.
Yeah,
So don't worry about that. Remember, Patrick Mahomes threw 7 interceptions in one practice in training camp the year he won MVP. Like, it's not
exactly.
like it's
You see it on
chill
the
out.
screen right here. Justin Herbert is 8 of 20. This is an MVP type of
There you
level
go.
quarterback throwing 8 of 20. And guys, the most important thing, these first 2 days, I'm expecting tomorrow to even be rough. Why? Day one of training camp, the 49ers didn't stretch the field. It was a minimized playbook. It was kind of like a get back into it.
Mhm.
Most of the passes were 10 yards and lower from all 3 quarterbacks. Yesterday was the first day that the 49ers really chose to open up the playbook, chose to start stretching the field, and you could see it. Like, remember, the biggest thing that is going to succeed from this is our running game. And we can't see our running game right now without pads because offensive linemen aren't really blocking like offensive linemen will block with pads. Trey Lance is
Yeah,
stretching the field out. Go ahead.
I think I think you're right, and I kind of wouldn't mind transitioning a little bit, Rohan, if you don't mind. I want to
Go
talk
ahead.
about these running backs and the rotation that you've seen, and if anybody stood out. It seems like training camp started with where they left off. You had Elijah Mitchell, then you got Jeff Wilson, then you got Hasty, then Sermon, and then the rookies. Has anybody kind of jumped out to you or stood out to you, whether through drills, rotations, pass pro, anything?
So running backs have been one of my lesser focuses, but I've seen them a solid amount still. Elijah Mitchell obviously is the one. You see guys like TDP and Trey Sermon right now. It seems like we'll be battling for that 2 spot. One guy, in my opinion, on the downtrend and one guy on the uptrend is what I'm looking at right now. The downtrend
Ooh.
right now is Jeff Wilson Jr. He didn't look that good. He looks a little slower this year, starting off. And this was yesterday. It's again, like we said, all of this is prefaced with a grain of salt because it's the beginning. But he did look slower yesterday. And I don't know if he's just got that it factor right now for the 49ers. The guy on the uptrend, a guy we both like, undrafted free agent Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason he's just been treating training camp like it's just regular practice. He's running physically, he's strong, and he's pretty quick too. You could just see it. He wants it. He is like in the carries that they had during scrimmage session. He's just running through these linebackers, even though all they can do is touch him. And then the other play that he had, a nice 10-yard catch on a comeback route yesterday from Nate Sudfeld, and he was pretty shifty after the catch too. Went down, avoided a tackle, and just ran. Although, again, take that with a grain of salt. Pretty
Yeah,
nice for
I
me.
like that kid. I like that kid a lot. Now, I'm not sure he makes the 53. He's going to need some help with injuries or something along those lines, which you never hope for those. But I don't care if he makes the 53. He just needs to make the practice squad. And we all know what happens to running backs and for the 49ers. They're going to miss time, and he's going to get his chance to be called up, and he's going to play a role. I just really hope that we get to keep him in the system. That's really all that I want. Eventually, some part this year, this dude's going to play a major factor. Not just like, all right, he's going to get a couple carries. No, I'm telling you right now, he has the makings to be a Kyle Shanahan guy. Not that it's going to happen like last year where you had Sermon, the third round pick, and Elijah Mitchell shoot up past him. You got TDP this year, the third round pick, and Mason. I don't think it's going to be like that. But at the same time, I strongly consider him getting some starting work towards the end of the year. I really, really do. Not over Eli Mitchell, but I'm just saying if the opportunity presents itself, I think he could be that first, second down guy that Shanahan loves.
Yeah, I think so too. And you talk about some of those guys, right? Trey Sermon, in my opinion, I know a couple of others have differed, said Trey Sermon hasn't necessarily looked that good yet. I actually thought Trey Sermon looked fine. His cuts have been looking pretty nice. I'm gonna see can he not fumble the football? That's the first thing because he's one of the smaller running backs on the team alongside Hasty, just because a lot of those guys are bulked up, with Mitchell included. And can he also is that vision nice? Can he navigate on the outside runs? Can he navigate on the inside runs? Can he not try and overuse his ability to cut and instead just be a downhill runner? That's something that I'm looking for from Sermon, because really the answers to those questions will distinguish whether it's him or Tyree Davis Price who gets a majority of the reps at running back number 2.
There you go. And so, yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun to watch. The good news is, Shanahan in his press conference today, he sounded a little pissed off towards the league. He hates the schedulers. The way I see refs is the way he sees the scheduling office. He just can't stand them. He talked about how they have 3 preseason games in 12 days. How do you prepare for that? Because then after that, you have 17 days with no games leading up to the regular season. So you are going to see more than ever before back into the roster get incredible snaps. So like we're used to seeing, okay, first teamers are out there for a series, then backups. It's not going to be like that this year. You're going to have 2 games in a row probably where it's backups and then it's all third, fourth back end stringers for like the entirety of the game. So I could see Jordan Mason getting 25 plus carries in one of these preseason games, and fans are going to fall in love because he's going to light it up on film. I mean, it's coming. But you can set your calendar to it.
The only thing that really is stopping Jordan Mason now is something that we can talk about now, and that's the offensive line. How are you
Oh,
looking
here we
so
go.
far with the offensive line? What are your just initial thoughts on the reports that you've heard, and what are your thoughts on just the players overall?
Man, I've been an O-line coach, and I've been in summer workouts and spring workouts and two-a-days and all that stuff, the acclimation period before you put pads on. And we would tell our kids, like, look, man, we're going to do one-on-ones. We're going to go through this. We're going to do teamwork. This is built for the defense to win. That doesn't mean you give up, but just understand, don't let this wreck your confidence. You would have to kind of bracket that practices with like, look, man, let's wait. Once we get the pads on, then you pop them in the mouth, put them in their place, and you're going to be where you're at. So has it looked good? No. Having said that, the 49ers have the best defensive line in the NFL, at least one of the best, top 3, worst case scenario. Biggest question mark on the 49ers roster, interior offensive line play. So yeah, you're talking about best versus worst, or kind of the best thing about the 49ers roster, and perhaps the worst or unquestioned or unanswered yet would be a better way to say it. There's going to be issues. Pads aren't on. Pads come on Monday. Monday, then you can start to gauge that. I'm seeing people talking about trading for interior offensive linemen already. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you guys have not been around football. You just haven't seen it. You can't judge O linemen. You really can't judge O linemen by just, helmets only. You just can't do it. You can't do it.
I agree. And I mean, that's the thing that really, I'm glad that you, as a former offensive line coach, preface pads. Without pads, defensive line always wins. Regardless of who's playing, defensive line always wins. Now, combine that with no Trent Williams, no Mike McGlinchey, and this is in scrimmages, I mean, and, a rotating offensive line where people aren't necessarily as acclimated with each other. That's something to say. Now, I won't sugarcoat it again. Here are the guys who haven't necessarily looked that great. I'll start with the guys who aren't necessarily team favorites, then go to the guys who are team favorites. Fuel probably has been one of the worst 49ers I've seen on the field so far. Not a great sign for a guy on the bubble already to make the team. He was the third string right tackle. It was McGlinchey, but McGlinchey didn't play in scrimmages, so more
That starts tomorrow. That starts tomorrow.
Exactly. Moore started at right tackle. Then it was Skule as the backup. Skule was just getting beat yesterday, be it by whoever. He committed a false start as well. So right now, so far, not a strong camp by Skule. Colton McKivitz has been worked, albeit it is by Nick Bosa on the left side. I know Moore and McKivitz did switch today. Moore left, McKivitz right. Those two guys haven't necessarily looked good. Then on the second team, a guy who people really like, Jason Poe. Unfortunately, he's not one of the guys on top right now. I didn't think he was going to make the roster. I saw him in person. He is small. He is the smallest guy on the field, and it's not close. Like Donovan West is pretty small for his size, and then Poe is one level below that. He's small, and he did get beat as well a little bit at right guard yesterday with the second team. Now, some of the positives. I mean, we do have that Brendel Brunskill rotation at center. I think Brendel right now has the hold on it. He's the starter, and Brunskill has struggled a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Spencer Burford has taken all of the right guard snaps with the first team. I think it's more so because the 49ers want Brunskill at center, and because Moore hasn't been given the opportunity since he's had to play first team tackle with McGlinchey and Williams out. I think it'll be Moore and Burford kind of competing next week when McGlinchey is back. That's what I'm looking for. But Aaron Banks has had he's been the best offensive lineman for the 49ers so far, and that's a good sign. He's had some bad reps, but he's also had some pretty good reps, in my opinion.
I think that's huge. Man, incredible list right there, dude. That's incredible. So well thought out, well organized, well delivered. But if you could have asked us, man, okay, offensive line's going to struggle, but if you get to pick one offensive lineman to have a really good start to camp, who would you pick? I think we all would have said Aaron Banks or maybe Jake Brendel, but that's huge. That's a huge positive.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're looking at 5 offensive linemen that are out there right now. Maybe 2 of those are going to actually be starters. 2 of them. Trent Williams, he's not out there. Mike McGlinchey, he's not out there. Daniel Brunskill taking snaps with the backups. He's going to be starting right guard or center. I'm telling you, Daniel Brunskill is not going to be a backup week 1 on this offensive line. So that leaves you with 2. Yeah. You think so?
We'll see. I think I don't think it's as clear cut. I think that Brunskill, right now they want him to win the center job, but initially I'm not exactly sure if he will.
If Daniel Brunskill's not starting week 1, it has nothing to do with injuries, the 49ers O-line is going to be just fine. Because Brunskill is one of those guys like Dante Johnson that's got some type of inside scoop on Kyle Shanahan. So if somebody beats him out, that's a great sign. That's not a bad thing. I think that's a great sign. I think they're going to be okay.
That's something I definitely agree on. And I also agree that the 49ers offensive line is going to be an average to an above average offensive line in 2022. I think it'll be a top 15 unit despite the new pieces, despite the new names, just because they aren't going to be relied to do as much with Trey Lance at quarterback. I saw a couple of plays where Lance was moving out of the pocket. I know Shanahan probably wants Lance to stay in the pocket, without pads because a sack doesn't matter right now. So he's
Mhm.
probably staying in the pocket more than he has to. But I've seen him move out of the pocket, and you've got Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey coming back. That's an interesting thing for sure.
I like it. Well, Rohan, do you care if we give away a couple of tickets to training camp real quick?
Let's go for it.
Is that cool? Okay, so here's how that's going to work. Now, I'm going to ask just the people that could actually make it to training camp, just because we got short notice. So if you cannot make it to training camp, try to sit this one out. But if you can make it to Santa Clara Monday, it's a morning practice. If you can get off work and you can get there, we got 2 tickets for you. Throw up the hashtag CC, and we'll pick a winner out of that. The order's different in the comment section because we're going for live on 2 different channels, so not necessarily who's first. But if somebody wants 2 free tickets to Monday's training camp practice and you want to go check that out, put the hashtag CC if you can make it. If you can make it, throw that up in there and we'll pick a winner here in a second as those goes up. I love it, man. I'm seeing the answers in there. So sorry, I'll turn it back over to you, Rohan. We'll pick a winner here in a minute or two.
Yeah, we'll do that. And while we do that, you talk about this offensive line and Daniel Brunskill. I think that Brunskill could potentially win the center job. What I've heard so far is a little like obviously on the negative side. But one thing, Marco is at the Rams offensive camp today. He's at Rams training camp today because he was in LA.
I love Marco, man. He's awesome. He's a good friend. He's a good friend.
That Rams offensive line is looking even worse. So 49ers fans, maybe there's some rejoice in all of the offensive line talk. It's looking even worse. Their left tackle, Joe Noteboom, hasn't necessarily looked that good, and he was the replacement to Andrew Whitworth. Remember, they lost Austin Corbett to free agency, lost Austin Blythe to free agency. They're without 3 starters from last year, so it is going to be tough, even though they
And
have
their answer's not coming. Like, there's no reserves coming. There's no Mike McGlinchey and Trent Williams coming later in camp. Like, they got what they got, and that's it. And people want to always talk about, like, oh, the Rams, they get everybody. They lost 8 key starters. They replaced them with 3, but that means that's a -5 key starters.
and that's
So
not even mentioning the special teams guys. Oh.
it's just a different philosophy in roster construction, which isn't wrong. They won a Super Bowl, so you got to give them that. But they want to pay for the top, and they are praying that the injury bug stays away from them. They have been one of the least injured teams since 2017. You look at the 49ers, well, the most injured team since 2017 when McVay and Shanahan showed up. At some point, those law of averages got to balance out a little bit. And whenever that happens, if that happens, it's not even going to be close. Keep in mind, the 49ers are 6-1 during that time period as well against them. So
Yeah.
we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right.
And before we decide the winner of John's training camp giveaway, let's answer this question from our guy, Coach Cruz. Does Deebo sign for 3, 4, or 5 years? John, what's your take on it?
I think this has been one of the most interesting narratives with this offseason because you're seeing these great wide receivers with terrible organizations sign 3-year deals. Terry McLaurin, nobody wants to play with Wentz. I don't know who the quarterback is in Seattle, but a 3-year deal there. I think that's important. You're looking at other players signing 4-year mega deals. So that's one of the things I've been so interested to see. What's Deebo going to do? 49ers want to sign him for a longer term deal. That's just the way it always goes. But I think it's going to be 3 or 4. I doubt it's going to be 5. If I was, let me just jump into my shoes. If John Chapman was a stud wide receiver, I want that 3rd contract, which I'm not. I've never been. I did play some snaps at wide receiver as varsity. I scored a couple touchdowns, but
Okay.
it wasn't my forte. What's up?
Here we go. We see receiver John out here. No offensive line coach John. It's receiver John. And
That's
as I
right,
said,
man.
gotta
Then
say
they moved
shout
my
out
fat butt back to fullback ASAP, man, where I belonged. But anyway, I would say it's probably going to be a 3-year deal. And if I was negotiating a contract as a wide receiver right now, I'd do a 3-year deal just so I could double dip so that you can get that next big contract at 28 years old and not 29. That's just what I would do. And with Deebo requesting a trade, makes it a little bit more of that second contract. Once that ends, you have more leverage. Rookie
Yeah.
year, no leverage. So
Yeah.
I'll say that. I'd say 3-year deal probably.
100%. And as I said, shout out to my guy Jesse out there. Thank you for tuning in. Does Deebo sign for 3, 4, or 5 years? I also agree. I think if I'm Deebo, I want that 3-year deal. There are a couple of reasons why. First of all, we see what happened this offseason. Terry McLaurin, 3-year deal, $71 million deal. DK Metcalf just got a 3-year deal. A.J. Brown was the first to sign, and he was the one with the 4-year deal. And what's the difference between Deebo and all those guys? Deebo's the oldest receiver of the group. He's 26 already. If he gets a 3-year deal, he's 29. And receiver is not a premium position anymore. I think their value begins to deteriorate in a couple of years because there's just an influx of receivers coming in every single draft that teams are just finding value for. And so to me, I think it's a 3-year deal for the best opportunity to potentially get another contract from another team should he sustain this ability, down from what I originally believed, a 5-year deal with a 3-year out clause.
I like it. I like it. All right, let's give away 2 tickets to 49ers training camp. Now, all you got to do is just email me, 49ers Rush Podcast at gmail.com. I get those transferred over to you. And again, these are compliments of an anonymous Patreon member that wanted to support the community. I'm going one of the hashtag CCs that popped up first, Big Papa. Congratulations, my friend. Appreciate all of your support and always watching us. Big Papa, reach out to me on Twitter at JL_Chapman or email me, 49ers Rush Podcast at gmail.com. We'll get that taken care of. I love this community. That's a big thing that we're on. And so now you gotta get us some inside tips, Big Papa. I need a camp report, eyes on the scene. I'm putting you to work, man. This ain't free.
Hey, shout out to Big Papa. Thank you, obviously, for John. Great guy. Great work here, Big Papa. Be sure to come find me on Monday as well. I'll be at training camp.
Ooh,
Definitely down to chop it up. I'll be there every single day right now.
I
So I'm
love
going
it,
to be
man.
giving y'all reports every single day right after training camp. Shout out to Big Papa. Hope you enjoy the experience on Monday.
Dude, that's cool, man. That's one of the worst things about where I live, which right now it's kind of weird. You know, I live in Pasadena, but my son's going through football camp and they've got stuff going on. So like, you know, I want to say congratulations and thank you to Rohan and man, all the freaking studs covering training camp. It's just we're so spoiled as Niners fans. And I mean, there's just so many, like I have friends that are Eagles fans and Steelers fans and whatever else. They don't have what we have. We are very, very lucky and
Here.
spoiled, and I mean that in the best possible way.
Yeah, definitely. And before we continue going to the defensive side, obviously the stronger side, I wanted to just give a little quick mention to our 49er tight ends for 2022. John, what are your quick thoughts on them and potentially the battle behind George Kittle? How do you think it'll go out?
Man, not that injuries are ever good. They're not. But with Warner being out with the core muscle surgery, not really concerned about his long-term well-being. Like he's going to be good to go when camp starts. I love that Tyler Kroft and Ross Dwelley are going at it. I think Kroft's going to win the tight end 3 job. And I'm like, Ross Duct Tape Dwelley is one of my favorite players ever. I love that dude. Practice squad, you know, coming up and just making some key plays. You remember that? I think that Saints game. I think it was the Saints game where he made that key 4th down conversion. Like he's had so many meaningful snaps. But I just think Tyler Kroft is the biggest. I think he's the most experienced. I think he's going to end up taking that tight end 3 job. I was kind of shocked when they brought back Dwelley because Warner took every single snap he ever had towards last year. Dwelley was getting almost nothing, so special teams work. But I think Dwelley be on the practice squad. Kroft probably going to win that tight end 3 job.
It's interesting. I think you bring up great points. I've heard from that guys inside the building with the coaching staff do not necessarily view Dwelley as one of those starting guys, primarily just as a backup. One name that I'll throw out because tight ends got a good amount of work on Wednesday, not as much work at all on Thursday. It was a lot more to receivers as the 49ers were stretching the field. Jordan Matthews. Jordan Matthews has been low-key raising some eyes. He had a nice 23-yard catch yesterday from Nate Sedfeld alongside the right sideline. He, in my opinion, is seeing some of that receiver action. Remember, the former receiver turned tight end. Obviously, questions with his blocking. We'll see if that's at all improved during training camp. Was on the practice squad with the 49ers last year. Has a bit of a step ahead from other tight ends. I don't know if he makes the 53-man roster, but he's an intriguing name to keep an eye on, especially if Warner ends up starting the year on IR or PUP, or I'd assume it's IR, not PUP. If Warner begins the year on an injured list, you might have a blocking tight end and then a third guy like Jordan Matthews as well.
Yeah, it would be the pup because he's still on it. So if you start training camp on the pup, then you can stay on that when the season starts, and you don't count as the you don't count as a roster spot. So I think that's what it'd be. But I think he'll be back. I think he'll be back.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, Warner was TE2 last year. Remember, Dwelly had a solid 2020 without Kittle. Warner, though, in 2021 eclipsed him in snaps, like you said, John, 23% compared to Dwelly's 18%. Dwelly mainly saw only special teams action. So I think Warner is a tight end too if he is healthy, and that'll be an interesting battle for tight end three. Some nice names we mentioned there.
Yeah, I'm with you. And Pro Football Focus, which I think they do a good job. It's a launching point. It's never the end all. But Warner finished with a higher blocking grade than George Kittle did, which I think Warner's never going to get those pancakes like Kittle does. But he's very consistent. It's very rare that he's out of position or off balance. Like he just is so consistent, which Kyle Shanahan loves. So we'll see there. We'll see. One of those tight end three guys are going to get some snaps at some point because Kittle or Warner's going to miss some time. If there's ever a team to be a tight end three on, it'd be the 49ers. They use them more than anybody.
And we got to get to some of these questions in the chat. Uncle Salty here asking, will the Niners sign J.C. Treader before the Bucks scoop him up? How do Brendel and Brunskill look? What do you think about Treader?
Man, I like Treader. I think the 49ers are happy with what they got at the center position. Whether I agree with that or not, that's a different take. But I don't think they're moving on to J.C. Treader. As soon as I saw that Ryan Jensen news, which is incredible, he might be a top three center. He is a top three center. He might be the best center in the league. And so that hurts because, again, people want to talk about 49ers interior offensive line. The Bucks lost all three interior starters. Like all three. 49ers lost two with Alex Mack and Lakin. They lost all three now with this injury. So it's not like the 49ers are their lone team that have issues on the inside of the offensive line. No. The Bucks are one of the number one Super Bowl favorites. The Rams, one of the best Super Bowl favorites. The 49ers, they're in the conversation. So this is the NFL. Offensive line play is not great around the NFL. And so would I like them to sign J.C. Treader? Yes. Will they? I don't think they will.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they will. I think it's too early to see with their battle. And like you said, the Bucks, they're in need of a center. The 49ers right now have two. They have Brendel and Brunskill who are splitting reps with the ones. I think they've shown confidence in their guys. And the most important thing with me, practice. I know you're like, what the hell? Why are you talking about practice? But Trey Lance needs those reps with his center. JC Treader doesn't practice that much after his injuries kind of with his knees. He's played in every game, but he hasn't practiced that much. And I think that is very important, especially building the rapport with Lance, which is why I ultimately think Brendel is in the favorite to win that center spot as of now.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I see Uncle Salty bringing up West and Poe as well. What the 49ers have is they have two guys, really three if you want to throw in Sutherland, who got some snaps there in mini camps and OTA, but I don't think he's a long-term answer. You have a short-term fix, and that's Brendel and Brunskill. Like you're hoping those two guys can handle and maintain things for the short future. You have your long-term developmental guys in West and Poe. Very similar to Ambry Thomas, where I don't think those guys even have a shot at playing time until you're talking double-digit weeks, like week 10 on. So their kind of philosophy is, hey, we got these two guys for right now, and we're developing these other two guys long-term. That's the way I see it. Will it pan out? I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. We'll. That's again, like you said, something we got to see. 49ers faithful forever, free tickets and a meet and greet. Guys, if you guys are, I definitely would love to, anybody, if you guys want to walk up and just have a conversation with me, I'm definitely down for it. I'm there every single day, would definitely be down to talk with anybody. And then,
Dude, I love it, man.
yeah, Melissa shouts out Steph Sanchez. I have seen her, great coverage. Be sure to subscribe to her channel as well.
Yeah, she's an incredible person, man. She's fun to party with too. She made it out to a couple road trips last year. It was a good time. What's up, Melissa? Good to see you.
And Steven asks, John Chapman, Niners will be the best in the league this year. And this is a good transition because the best part of the 49ers so far, I know it's without pads, but it's that defensive line, John. How are you feeling?
Man, it's difficult to find a way. Niners were top 10 last year. They were top 10 in 2020. They were top 10 in 2019. So you're talking 3 straight years of a top 10 defense. It's difficult to find a way that this defense won't be top 5. You have questions at the number 2 safety spot. Hufanga's look good in camp. You have questions at the nickel spot. Denard, we'll see what happens. Womack long term. But everywhere else, it's solid. You've got insane depth at the outside corner position. You've got insane depth at all 3 linebacker spots. You've got insane depth at the D line. Find a hole, find a more depth built roster. You're not going to do so. So I love what they've got. Man, if I had to bet, if I was a Vegas odds maker and you said, okay, John Chapman, what's the over under on where the 49ers would finish? I'd say 2.5. That's what I would put it at. Like, I think they're going to be a top 3 defense, and that's where that kind of toggle switch is, maybe 3.5, but they're going to be a top 3, top 5 defense as long as things just stay all right in those 2 positions. Nickel corner, number 2 safety, they're going to be lights out.
Yeah, and like you said, defensive line is the deepest group of and there's really no concern. Ark Armstead reported MCL sprain today, but it didn't look like the defensive line missed a beat. There are guys to watch on that defensive front at both edge and on the interior. I know everybody wants to hear it, so I'm going to say it. Defensive edge Drake Jackson. He has looked good. He has looked good in the 2 days. He looks like he might be one of the better players for the 49ers on that defensive line. Charles Omeni, you got first team snaps. Kevin Givens as well. Kevin Givens is that underrated guy. I think he's DT number 3 behind Armstead and Kinlaw this year. He has looked good. I think he's in line for some extended snaps as a pass rusher potentially when obviously those rotations go in place. But really, there's just so many guys. I think Givens has looked good. I think Hurst has looked good. Obviously, Bosa and Armstead have looked good in their time playing. And Drake Jackson has looked good as well. So we'll see how it continues. Just so many bodies. I was amazed because even you're talking about the 11th and 12th guys on the roster. Robert
Yeah.
Nikombiche had a sack and a half yesterday. So like he even looked good. It's like crazy how everybody on the team is contributing on that defensive line.
I don't know how that 53 is going to shake out, man. I really, really don't. And it's going to be fun to see. Do you keep 4 interior and 6 DNs? Do you keep 5 and 6? Because I think they're going to keep 11. But man, that competition, I want to trade. I really, really do. I want to combine a pick. I've been saying this forever, but I want to package one of these D linemen in a 6th to get a 5th or a 4th round for next year's draft. Like that's just the way I see it. You got 11 picks coming back next year, but the depth is just insanity. It's exciting. It's so exciting.
Yeah, I think that could be definitely a good strategy, right? Because there's so much depth and so many good players on this team. I think that could be a thing that the 49ers linebackers, defensive tackles, that's where I think they might look to try and move a couple of these guys because they have depth and they're quality players that will probably get claimed if they get cut or sign elsewhere if they get cut.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm with you. And it's going to be weird because, somebody asked me what's the over under on players claimed. And I was being kind of hopeful, but I was saying, man, I want 2 players traded and 4 players claimed. That's what I kind of ended up with. So 6 players on this roster going elsewhere. Because I think it's going to be 6, but I hope we can trade a couple,
Yeah.
get something back in return.
Melissa here asks, with Bakhtiari not being 100%, do you think the Packers pilfer us for some players because LaFleur has a similar mindset to Shanahan? I'll just say this real quick. If you guys want Justin Skule, by all means, take Justin
Yeah.
Skule right now. That's what I'm going to say. 49ers will cut 2 of their 10 probables right now. They'll probably only carry 8 offensive linemen. I'd expect it's going to be McKivitz and Skule right now that don't make the roster, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that's the thing. There's more and more Shanahan disciples and whatever out there. So just the pool of teams trying to take these type of players just continues to grow every year. That's part of the success. It's a good thing, not a bad thing. And these guys landing these spots, it's a good thing as well. But I will say this: Packers got a pretty damn good offensive line.
Yeah,
They're in the top portion of the league for sure, even without Bakhtiari,
yeah,
which is crazy because I think Bakhtiari is the top 3 offensive tackle in the league, and he's paid as such. I really wish he'd get healthy. I hate the Packers, but Bakhtiari is one of my favorite players in the league. That's
yeah,
not a 49er.
yeah, definitely. Travis Cooper here asks, "What do you think about the receiver group? What are your initial thoughts with the group that we have right now?"
I think it's top heavy. I think there's 4 guys they like, and Danny Gray, I'm not counting in that list. I'm hoping he develops into that. But Deebo, who's not practicing right now, even though he's doing crazy conditioning, man, he looks like he's working so damn hard. Like you'll see some video of the O line or whatever, and you just see this shoop. You see this guy in the background just sprinting back and forth.
Run and
Uh,
sprint.
yeah, just doing wind sprints, which I love. But yeah, Debo, Ayuk, Jennings. I think they love those 3 guys. Ray would probably be the 4th guy right now. Danny Gray, he could be that one trick pony that just comes in and runs, go routes, but I don't think he's to the point yet where he can contend in the rotation outside of just, a deep threat guy right now. So you got your top 4 guys. Can somebody else, Malik Turner had a big play.
Yeah,
Can somebody else kind of jump up to create that depth? Because let's be honest, there's depth all across the 49ers roster, not yet at the wide receiver position.
yeah. I think that there are a lot of names, but the point is there are a lot of names, and right now I don't know who's separated out of that for that 6 receiver spot. I don't know who's
They
separated.
might not keep one. They might not
Yeah,
keep one.
that's true. They could just keep 5 given the amount of depth at other positions and then maybe add or keep guys on the practice squad to elevate. That could be the case because some of these guys are veterans and undrafted guys. So at the moment, it's uncertain. A guy who was hoping for to kind of show his name out a little bit was Tay Martin. He hasn't necessarily gotten much of an opportunity. They've been sticking with a core of about 6, 7 guys in scrimmages. Tay Martin hasn't been one of those guys. Turner was one of the names that was there. But they've been trying to get guys like McLeod, Jennings, and Gray in some action. Gray caught a touchdown pass yesterday. He's got the deep speed. He was the reason for one of the interceptions yesterday. It was a pass off Sudfeld. It was a nicely defended ball. I don't blame Gray as much, but he's got the deep speed. I think the 49ers will use him like they used Travis Benjamin last year, very minimally, but he'll have 40, 50 snaps where he'll be just running deep routes and he torches cornerbacks.
Yeah, for Tay Martin individual, first, I think he's going to be better with pads, which usually you wouldn't say with the wide receiver, but coming out of OSU, that dude doesn't get separation. It's not who he is. He's a jump ball specialist, big bodied, kind of basketball player or whatever. So I think his time to shine is coming. But again, even if he does ball out, I don't even think he makes this roster because you've got him. He's going to be a practice squad guy and develop. So that's not an insult. I'm not trying to say I love Tay Martin. I was so glad we picked him up, but he's going to be on the journey of Kendrick Bourne. He's going to be on the journey of Jawan Jennings. That's his route to be a part of this team where you learn for a year on the practice squad, maybe get called up for a game or two, but it's next year. It's the year after. That's what Kyle Shanahan wants. He wants to test these guys, galvanize these players into the system so that when they do step in, they can be successful. You put Tay Martin out there right now, it's not going to go well.
Yeah, yeah. Nick here asks, how many offensive linemen do you think make the roster? What do you
8.
think? 8?
8 because in the new CBA that they just redid, you get to
Yeah,
call up one offensive lineman every single week. So you have your 53, right? But you get to call up 2, and then you have your inactives. One of the 2 that you call up has to be an offensive lineman. So you'll have 9 every week, but I think only 8. I doubt they'll keep an extra one. Those extra spots will go to defensive line and probably corner.
yeah. It could be defensive line, could be corner. Yeah, I think those are the 2 spots.
Or let's throw fire on here. Wide receiver. You got to keep those 3 wide receivers. Jimmy G got to be around. And people just close their computers.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
That's
I think
sarcasm, my
it's
friends.
also 8. Yeah, I think it's 8. I think there are 8 guys. I honestly, right now, I think the 8 have, in a way, been configured already. think McKivitz and Skule, like I said earlier, at the moment they're on the outside looking in. Skule looked rough. If McKivitz shows a little better reps later on, I think so. But I think they're comfortable keeping him as that ninth guy who gets elevated just like they were last year.
Yeah, I think that's right. And man, whoever they cut, it's going to be crazy because you either stay young or you stay with kind of the vet guys. Like you said, School and McKivitz are gone. That means you're keeping all the younger guys. I mean, Zakel, is he going to stay? I think he is. I don't think you cut Nick Zakel. I don't think Spencer Burford almost a lock now after going with the ones back to back days.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And the rest of the guys that the 49ers have on that bench are versatile. You talk about Bronskill, you talk about Zakel, you talk about I mean McKivitz is there as well, but you talk about who's the guy I'm missing? Jalen Moore. Jalen Moore is also pretty versatile. All of the Cree guys are versatile. I think they can cover within themselves all the positions that are remaining on the field pretty much.
Yep. I like it. I like it.
Uncle Salty here says Samson Ebukam has got to be looking over his shoulder constantly.
I think so. But, he ended the year on such a freaking incline. And, we did our 49ers roster countdown we were doing.
Mhm.
Looking at his stats and going back in his film, this dude had 0 missed tackles as a starting defensive end in the league. That's unheard of. So
Very
does he
good.
have this? Yeah. Does he have the splash plays that we all know and love? Their sack numbers incredible. They were down the stretch, but there's something to be said for consistency all throughout this roster. There's a
Yeah,
reason why Dre Greenlaw starts over Aziz
yeah.
because of consistency. That's what's important. The flashy plays the fans love, I get it. The highlights, I understand that. Samson doesn't make mistakes. And
Mhm.
so the good news is, I don't think it's Samson versus Drake. I think Samson makes Drake better because Drake just gets to chill and do the Alden Smith type route where, hey, man, you
Yeah.
just come in, you turn your freaking igniters on and you go. And once you figure things out, we'll phase you in. But yeah, there's so much depth there. But I promise you this, the 49ers coaching staff likes Samson Ebukam way more than any of the fans are even close to. They love that guy.
I think I agree. I mean, you just look at it. I've been reporting the starting lineups every day, and there's one constant name in there, and that's Samson Ebukam. He
Yeah,
has been the
he's
starting defensive end, and remember, starting means rush packages. It's the regular base packages. He hasn't necessarily been out there as much on pass rushing situations, but you mentioned it. 38 tackles last year, 0 missed tackles, one of the better run defending edges, and he's the guy opposite Nick Bosa. I expect him to start week one. I don't know how many pass rushing snaps he'll get just because of the amount of guys, and probably also to keep him healthy for 17 games,
Mhm.
given the amount that he takes on in the run game as well. But yeah, he's looked good so far. And I agree. I don't think it's necessarily him versus Drake. I think everyone's just making themselves better. Omenahue said that in the interview last week. And yeah, I think it's just everyone trying to make each other better and iron sharpens iron.
Yep, nailed it, nailed it.
John, who would you want that guy to be the guy packaged up? Ridgeway or Hurst?
I don't think it'd be a defensive tackle. I think they like the defensive tackles they have. I think they want to keep 5, right? Armstead, Kinlaw, you got Hurst and Givens, and Ridgeway's not going anywhere. Okay, let me say this. Ridgeway fulfills a perfect role, and that is run stuffing in the middle.
Yeah,
Whenever Kinlaw or Armstead's like, if anybody was going to go out of this group, probably Hurst. I think if you look at Hurst and Givens, they're identical bodies, metric, play style. They're the exact same player, but I think Givens has shown a little bit more. Hurst injuries have been an issue. So if this is your option, I would say Hurst, but I think it's going to be a D end, not a defensive tackle. But yeah, if I was picking and you made me choose out of these two, I would trade Hurst. And again, that would probably be Hurst in a 7th to maybe get a 6th. Remember, this was somebody that was cut just a year ago, then had back-to-back injuries last year. So there's not going to be a huge pull for him. But if he hits his potential, watch out because he's somebody. All these guys are on 1-year deals, by the way. There's 4 defensive tackles that are on 1-year deals.
yeah.
So take that for what you want.
I think that's a good analysis, honestly. Hurst, I'm sorry, not Hurst. Ridgeway is insurance for Armstead or Kinlaw. Kinlaw right now, right, is the big unknown. We haven't seen him practice in team scrimmages. We haven't seen him in pass rushing situations yet. He's looked good. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to get this wrong. He's looked good. in the individual drills, in the little positional drills that he's done. I think he's got that explosiveness. He's got the speed that he had before back, and he's the biggest human I have legitimately seen. Price is huge. But right now, yeah, Ridgeway is your insurance policy. You paid him 900,000 in guaranteed money to be that insurance policy, and I don't know if you want to let him go before making sure that one of your two guys, especially one with a propensity for getting injured, you don't want to let that guy go. As for the other guys, you talked about Hurst, you talked about Givens. Both have had good camps. I think Givens is the number one guy right now. Hurst is the number two.
I agree.
But a guy that could potentially, I'm just saying could right now, one of those edge rushers, if you get anything for Kerry Hyder, you trade him. And if you get anything for Jordan Willis, I think you got to entertain something because right now I think Willis is on the outside looking in if you're carrying 10.
You're about to make Melissa mad. She's a big Jordan Willis fan. Hopefully you got that email. I think she got it. She asked me last time to put together a Jordan Willis top plays, and so I finished that this morning. Which he looked good. He looked good, but I do think he's the odd man out right now.
He looks good. It's just I'm not even saying from my personally thing. I'm just saying from the depth chart right now. I think Drake Jackson's looked better than him. I think Ebucom obviously has looked better than him. And then you're not going to cut Nick Bosa, obviously. So you got those three guys. And then on the outside, who else am I missing?
Omenihu, and he ain't going anywhere.
Omenihu is not going anywhere. So you're not going to let go of any of those guys. And then if we're being honest, guys like Kevin Atkins, undrafted free agent, he's looked good too, and Neckham DJ. So you've got a lot of these defensive tackles that are looking good. You're just looking at the odd man out in this instance.
Yep, I like it. I like it.
Travis asks, what do y'all think about the running back group? How many do we keep?
I think 4+1 with Juszczyk, obviously. I think Hasty and Jeff Wilson Jr. are competing against each other. I don't see any way that they can keep both of those. Possible they move on from both, but I think one of them make it, not both. So that's the main thing that I'm watching for. TDP safe. Trent Sermon's safe because of his draft position and salary. So Elijah Mitchell, Sermon, and TDP 100% are locks. It's just who's going to get that last spot: Hasty, Jeff Wilson Jr., or Mason. But I don't think Mason's going to make it, even though I want him to.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we carry 4. We'll see who that fourth guy ends up being. But right now, it looks like we will carry 4, discluding Kyle Juszczyk, with the 3 that you mentioned as likely to all make the roster. So next, we've got a question from Coach Cruz. Are you only allowed to call up someone a certain number of times before that you have to stay in the active roster? Go ahead.
Yes. So this is you get to call them up twice before you make the decision. That you can't call them up 3 times, otherwise they have to be a lock on your roster. And there's lots of little caveats to this, but yeah, you can call them up twice. You can protect them twice. That's also what the 49ers did that a lot with Nate Sudfeld last year. They love Nate Sudfeld. Trey Lance talked about how much he was hoping Nate Sudfeld would come back. How much of those are just words, but it seems to be like a legitimate. He's a mentor type vet. He's been in the league 7 years, but you can call everybody up twice. If you do it a third time, they have to be on your active roster after that. So hopefully that answers the question. Did I miss anything on that?
No, I think you got it. I think you got it, and I think it's like you said, the protections as well, and that leads us kind of to our next question. You talked about quarterbacks. Roel asks, "Are we keeping 2 or 3?" I know I have an answer, and you got the correct answer. It's 2. I've been looking at camp, guys. Brock Purdy is not making this roster, no matter how some fans might want him to. He doesn't. He just doesn't have the arm. You can see it.
0%.
Yeah, no, Nate Sudfeld is miles better than Brock Purdy at this moment. It's just, I'm just being real. Brock Purdy, his arm was the reason that he had 2 interceptions yesterday. He tried to float the ball in the air. It was about a 40-yard pass down the field. Marcus Johnson had gotten open after Purdy got sacked. He rolled out to extend the play. Marcus Johnson got wide open. Purdy aired that thing out. Probably was in the air for 10 seconds. Taylor Hawkins went from one side of the field to another, made the interception. Yeah, he doesn't have the strong enough arm right now to really sustain NFL level play. And the 49ers carried 2 last year.
And he's easy to keep on your practice squad. Nobody's going to claim him, right? He was picked 256 or 262, sorry,
Yeah.
262, Mr. Irrelevant. His arm eliminates him from 20 plus teams in the NFL. Like it's got to be a Shanahan system only, and you can't value the deep ball at all. He's got to be our practice squad QB. That's what he's going to be. Now, even if you do keep Jimmy, let's play this role. Let's go down this path. Why not? Let's say you can't find a trade partner. I'm still of perhaps a smaller fraction of people that I don't think Jimmy gets released week 1. I really, really don't. Or for the 53, I don't think it happens. And here's why. I understand that his roster is guaranteed once he makes the 53-man roster August 30th, but it's still divvied up into game checks, that salary cap hit. So even if you keep him, that doesn't mean that's all going to hit the 49ers. You hold him for a week, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Then maybe you could deal him for something cheap. The one thing I will say, I just don't see him being released when your home opener week 2 is against the Seattle Seahawks. I just don't see that from Kyle's perspective. I just cannot see that. He has been destroyed by the Seahawks his entire career. No way you throw him a life preserver now. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I just don't see it.
That's an interesting take for sure. I think right now, people were asking me, do you think Garoppolo higher chance of him getting cut or released? I personally think he might be traded or released. I think he might be getting traded at this moment. I wouldn't be
I think so
surprised if
too.
he got released, but at the moment, just based on what we're hearing and what guys like Marco are telling me, it does seem like Jimmy Garoppolo could be traded. It's just based on what is he going to do with his rework contract with certain teams?
Yep. And that's the thing, right? Like, because again, it's not going to be as bad as Baker because everything's not guaranteed if the trade happens before August 30th, right? But right now, it's a little bit of a game of chicken. You got Seattle that's just sitting there chomping at the bit. They will claim him immediately. And then every other team, whether it's Texans, Giants, the Browns, whatever happens with Deshaun Watson, there's teams out there. I forgot who put this out there. I think it was Jones. She said, he would make 10 teams better at quarterback right now. And I agree with that. I
Oh,
really do.
yeah,
It's
probably.
just, yeah, you got to figure it all out.
Yeah. Continuing with your guys' questions to end today's show, we've got Rick here mentioning Justin Hilliard. He was cut by the Giants just because he's not a fit with Martindale. He's a 4-3 guy. Martindale's 3-4. Maybe we can sign him
He
back.
got suspended, though, I think.
That is
I think
true.
he got suspended, didn't he?
The guy. I think it was like something about performance enhancing.
Yeah, I think he's out the first 10 games, too, which is going to hurt. I could be
He spent
wrong. Let
2
me.
games for violating something.
Yeah, so that hurts. But again, we're stacked at running or linebackers. Yeah, I'd love to have him back on the practice squad. He played well, and he filled in at the Mike role. He wasn't
Yep.
even just one of the will guys. Like they liked him enough to give him Fred snaps.
And speaking about Mike, one name that I want to just tell you before we end, guy to keep your eye on during training camp, Curtis
I
Robinson,
love
Stanford UDFA. He has been getting all of the second team Mike snaps. It's not Demetrius Flanagan Fowles who got Mike snaps in the past. It's Curtis Robinson. So in the linebacker rotation with Oren Burks, the guy from Green Bay, with him, Flanagan Fowles, and Curtis Robinson. Robinson is the guy who has been getting mic snaps. I've liked what I've seen. He's been vocal. He's been a leader out there, and I would not be surprised if he ends up making the 53.
We had him when we were doing our roster countdown. We had him number 85, but the thing that stood out to me, he has the exact metrics, height, weight, speed. He's Fred Warner. He's a Fred Warner freaking clone. Body, speed, athleticism. Like they got a type. And it's him. He's a Mater Day kid too. So yeah, man. He's 99% athletic profile match with Fred Warner over on mockdraftable.com. I'd love for him to make it, man. I mean, he fits the mold. He fits it.
Yeah. Coach Cruz asking a question in after we talked about the running backs. Would they keep Mason? Hope for Hasty Wilson on the PS. What do you think?
I don't think Jeff Wilson's going to make the practice squad personally. I know that McDaniels loved him, but they got freaking 15 running backs in Miami, so I don't know. Maybe they would. I think there would be a larger pool for Wilson than there would Hasty. So again, these are the questions you got to ask, and these are the questions they have as a coaching staff. Okay, if we move on from Hasty, what are the chances we keep him on the practice squad? Okay, well, if we move on from Wilson, which one? Those are the type of questions they ask each other. And I would say Mason is closer to Wilson play style. I'm not sure you would want Mason as that third down back. So if Mason's going to make it, Wilson would be the one that would be cut because Hasty performs a role that's different. And I think that's what's important because Hasty, they like him as that third down option.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely. I think I agree. Seattle, Chris Carson just got he's retired because of his neck issue. They need an RB3, and I think Jeff Wilson would be claimed by them as one of the teams if he was
yeah.
moved. The only thing at this point, I think honestly, you just got to wonder which guy do you like the most? Because I feel like at least one of these three guys, when you cut the two, is going to be claimed. So you could the 49ers. Not only do they have that tough decision, they have to figure out who they like the most out of the three.
Yeah. Miami keeps taking all our running backs, man. You cut a running back, Miami takes them.
Yeah. Kali asking, I think, our last question of the day. Does Brett start the season on IR or PUP? And when he's available, does he instantly play if Ward and Mosley are lights out? This is tough. What do you think?
I think Shanahan's sneaky. And so I would say if the outside corners are playing well, if you're three deep, if you got three guys playing well, I think he'll stay on the pup because that's a cheating number that you get a keep, and you'll get, Jimmy Verrett back week 6 or after week 6, which is important because, diving through his injury history, he's had 5 seasons where he didn't even make it to game 2. So there's no reason to rush him back. But if something happens to Ward or Mosley, Ambry Thomas continues to struggle, Diamador Lenore doesn't step up, Tariq Castro-Field's not ready. If you don't have 3 solid outside guys, I think that he would step in. And I do not think that he would start over Emmanuel Mosley. Emmanuel Mosley has earned that, and he sure as hell isn't starting over Charvarius Ward.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this. I don't know what happens when Verrett comes back. A lot of people think he can be CB1. These two players here, Ward and Mosley, deserve to be on the outside. They have been lights out at cornerback so far, and I think that they're a duo that can't be messed with. Verrett, for those of you guys that want to know, was on the sidelines yesterday. He wasn't in uniform, but he was talking with Ward. He was talking with both Wards. He was talking with the cornerback group a little bit during scrimmages. But I do believe he does start the year on IR or PUP, so he'll be a part of the initial 53, elevated to IR or PUP, and then the man, the myth, the legend, Dante Johnson will be brought back after being originally cut, probably. So, it's the same cycle that happens every year. I do think, though, the 49ers, I think what they're going to realize is they don't necessarily need Verrett immediately. I think they can afford the first couple of weeks without Verrett. Week 6, like you said, is a good mark because the 49ers – in those first 6 weeks, they play the Bears, which is a team they probably believe they can defeat. They play the Seahawks, another team they believe they can defeat. 2 tough matchups against the Broncos and the Rams, sure. But then you play the Falcons and you play the Panthers. I think that the 49ers believe they could probably go 4-2 at least in those games.
That'd be nice.
And then you bring back Verrett, who's 100% and not as much of a worry of re-injuring that ACL. And you might just slowly bring him back into the fold and potentially have a nice cornerback trio then.
And I'll say this, once Verrett gets into the game, it's going to be hard to get him out. Now, I don't think that he has earned the right to go in over Mosley. I don't think he's earned the right to go over Ward. But once he gets in, that's kind of what he is. He's just one of those sticker guys. Like, you can't get rid of him. Once he's in there, he's staying.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you there. I think Verrett, he's a guy where the 49ers will have to make a decision there. I don't think he begins the season with on the active roster. I think he'll get bumped up to a list. But this will be a thing that we have to address midseason probably.
Yeah, I think you're right. I see Big Papa back in the chat. Hey, man, make sure you email me. You want the free tickets, buddy. I think you left for a little while. So Big Papa, email me. Let me get you those tickets, 49ersrushpodcast@gmail.com.
And that right there is a great way to end the show. Big Papa, hope to see you out there Monday. Congrats on winning the training camp tickets. John, it's been a pleasure definitely having you on the show.
Always a good time, man. Love
Always.
what you do. Appreciate your positivity too.
Thank you. Thank you. We will be back sometime probably during this training camp session. Thank you as well to the remainder of this chat. All of you guys were just buzzing the entire time. Thank you guys all. We will be back soon, and I'll catch you guys next time.